Welcome to Leadership Bytes. I'm Claire, and today we're diving into a critical year-end leadership skill, using the pulse check to assess, energize, and set the direction for your people and your culture. With me, I have Sanjay, who is a leadership expert and consultant who has spent years helping organizations grow their teams and build high-performance organizations.
Thank you, Claire, and thank you for having me here. I think at the year end, one of the key things we do is we focus on results. I think it's important that we don't focus on results, but we also focus on the people itself, because that's going to be very important, right? Because when you focus on people, you will actually develop a culture that creates more engagement and commitment.
So let's start with the numbers, Sanjay. What should leaders look at in terms of data when the year wraps up?
I think when the year wraps up, I think typically we look at sales numbers and project outcomes as well. But I think it's important also to look at your people numbers, right? Engagement levels, you may have things like workplace health, right? Well-being, and even numbers like, your turnover numbers. I think those are important. And from that, you can ask yourself, right? Are people more engaged? Are we seeing people more leaving the company? Or are people taking more MCs? And also probably not taking enough leave, right? Because that's a sign as well that they are working very hard.
Right, so it's not just focusing on the performance metrics, but also connecting to their teams as people.
That's correct. Yeah, I agree with that.
And pulse checks are not just about finding issues and problem solving them, right? It's also about learning how to build that positive team culture. So how do leaders do that?
To build a positive team culture, I think pulse checks, as you said, it's not just about evaluation sometimes, but it's all about celebration and recognition. So celebrate a lot, recognize people. Sometimes it's not about the actual results itself, but it's about progress they've made, right? Small little wins they've done, things they have done, helping people out, right? These are things that you want to recognize, because when you recognize people and you celebrate that in front of others, right? You build a much stronger people culture, and people feel appreciated and feel that very engaged as well.
So feedback is a huge piece of the year-end reflection, but it can be a little bit tricky. So how do we make it actionable?
In order to create actionable feedback, I think first thing is you need to create the space for people to give feedback. So when they do give feedback, right, you need to accept the feedback for what it is and go back and share it with others, right? Share it with your team, share it with your leadership team. Make sure that you are acting on the feedback. Acting on the feedback means that you are finding action plans that you can do to address that feedback. And then finally, coming back to the people and sharing with them what's the actions that you're going to do. I think that's important. And when you do that, you kind of close the loop and that helps trust to develop. Because now people will realize that their feedback is being acted on. And if it's being acted on, then they will give you more feedback. And this is exactly what you want. You want more engagement from people so that they share with you feedback, things that you can address and make lives a little bit better for them.
Right. So it's not just about collecting feedback one way. It's also showing that you're acting on it and building that trust.
Right. Exactly.
That loop.
Exactly.
So how should teams connect the end of year pulse survey to development for the following year?
I think that's a good question. I think all is a reflection that you do, right? I think this reflection has to be turned into action, right? So ask yourself some questions like, where did the people struggle? What did they do well? What did they not do so well? What are some of the things that they were concerned about? And I think this is where the honest one-to-one conversations are very important. So having those honest conversations in your career development conversations or your feedback conversations is going to be very handy, so that you can also share what you're doing as well. And then that you can turn into a growth plan for them, right? By just documenting it and setting some goals for them for the upcoming year.
As we wrap up, how can leaders ensure that insights lead into action and momentum?
Okay, that's a good question. And one of the key things is, I think what we've spoken about so far, keep celebrating, keep recognizing, keep that feedback loop going. I think these are very important. So if you keep that going, right, that's where culture develops, right? And that's where when people realize that your leaders care, right, they would actually respond with commitment.
Thanks, Sanjay, for sharing your expertise today with us. To all our listeners out there, remember that your team's performance depends on a healthy and a cared-for culture. So have those pulse checks, show that appreciation to your team, and let's start the new year stronger together. We'll see you in the next episode.